the weekend I ended up being given, not to refurbish, but to keep, not one, but two Dyson V6s. That is my Christmas treat there. Do not fear yourselves about that being the origin of these machines. I have refurbished both of these 3 to 4 years ago each, respectively, and one snagged its battery, one hadn't, and it was something else. But the owner bought the owners bought new vacuums. One of them bought a Shark Europe. Where is it? It says on it somewhere what the model number was. Oh, some boring IZ machine anyway. But IZ 411 UKT. That's what replaced one of these machines. Let's see if there's anything salvageable in here and how far we get through this video in making some Dyson V6s that I can smash onto Facebook Marketplace and get rid of. Let's have a look. Yes, hello, my vacuum cleaner and Dyson cordless chums. How are you today? Blimey, there was once a time when these would have been ever so expensive. Dyson's flagship premium cordless vacuum cleaner, and now, oh my goodness, why are you sat there? And now they are literally reduced to a pile of e-waste on my front room floor. How lovely. I still do refurbish a ton of these though. You know, people will happily pay 60, 70 quid plus a new battery to have their Dysons running well. And these, yeah, have been through all of the works. One of them even came with its manual look. So we have a Dyson V6 manual. This one is for this one because of its head. And what's quite funny is, look, they registered it on the 3rd of December 2016. I think I'm now filming this on the 4th or the 5th. So almost 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Blimey, 9 years ago this machine was born. It's almost annoying they wrote that on there really, because I wanted to sell the manual with the Dyson, but that will then give away that this is a 9-year-old machine that I will be trying to sell for top dollarage on Facebook. So who knows? We might keep that as well. But otherwise, they're fairly complete. One of them didn't come with a turbo head. I found one of these in my local charity shop. That was pretty good fun, just in time to have these. But we have two docks. We have the one set of tools. Oh, somewhere will be the one working charger. Right here, yes. They both came with chargers. I can't remember which one it was now. One of the chargers doesn't work, so we have one working charger and I need to obtain another one. Then, well, we have the two styles of Dyson V6. We have the V6 head, which is very common, and this one isn't too bad. Again, I would have completely stripped it apart and washed it just a couple of years ago, and it's probably going to need the same again. But then they refreshed it with this hateful bloody head. This is the, thinking back to the eBay advert here, late V6, which this is, early V7. And you can tell, if it's going to focus now, there you go, you see that? Oh, come on camera. You can do it, otherwise I have to put a photo up on the screen. Oh, back. There we go, 102882-01. That means that this has a completely different size brush roll to the identical looking head that the V7 and V8 afterwards used. And I have ordered supposedly the right one. So we'll see how disappointed we are later in the video when that arrives and doesn't fit, because yeah, this has done the usual bit. All the black bristles have just disappeared. And I mean, that's fine when I'm just refurbishing it for the owner. But when I want to flog it, not quite so much. Let's check the machines in more detail. I mean, they're just Dyson V6s really. So one is a V6 Total Clean is its official title. I think this was one of the last iterations of the V6 before it went solely into the V7. And this one's still pretty clean. The filter, which, I mean, I would have fitted at some point is still spotless and nice. That is how you wash these properly. You separate it and then do it. And yeah, as a consequence, this one works quite well. It does, however, have a battery that if I put it on max, it will last about 3.5 seconds and die. And the screw is broken on the battery holder. This one, which we have been using because it is full of tree dust, this one works pretty well indeed, and it's got a pattern battery in it. And this one, if I can replicate it, put it on max, it lasts, but it's, there you get it, see that, cuts in and out. And that's, I've always been a bit unsure about batteries. I would have fitted this 3 years ago, and I guess it's done its value for the money it cost, but I don't know. Can't go putting genuine batteries in these nowadays. That would cost an absolute fortune. What would you do down below for the lowly V6? However, works just well enough that if we empty this one all over the floor and then spread it out a bit, there we go. We can hopefully put the wand on and vacuum up the mess. Maybe it'll clog. And it's not normal. That's still pretty good. And they're not bad, are they? That is clamping itself down not too badly at all. Bless its little heart. But if we dump this back out now, come on, round you go again. Bin keeps on coming off. There we go. We can try the other Dyson with the other style head, like so, and see if it's any nicer. Oh yes, this head is a vast improvement, I think. Nicer to use. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Not too shabby. So both of these do work fine. They run all right. I guess that means they're probably viable projects. For and laugh, see if we get any measurement at all. Right, pot noodle put on. I'll turn the light on so you can see it. We'll see if I can do this at all. Oh yeah! 5.8 miles an hour. I don't know, but it's not really doing much on there. And again, this really isn't scientific because I am struggling to hold this on with one hand, but it's the best we can do. Let's see if this one differs. 4, yeah, 4.6, 4.4. I'll push the button. 5, yeah, 6. So 2 miles an hour-ish, obviously not scientific at all. More airflow in max than min. And I think these are perfectly all right candidates for restoration. So I am now going to strip these apart. And then I'm going to go into the shed and have a look at all the Dyson V6 parts that I'm sure I have. And we'll see if we can make these like the most complete, excessive V6s we can. Right, let's take these apart. This bit's going to be identical. We push down on the red tab and take off the bins. I did empty the one that was full of pine needles. Then I get a little flat base screwdriver and very gently just tease half of the tab off of there. And then be very careful to not snap this bit. Just pull the rubber around and off. And then this bit just all gets washed just like that. So I'll do the opposite off camera. Then, well, we can split here. We may as well take the batteries off of both of them with its 2 crosshead screws, one there and one back here. Now it's time to split the cyclone from the machine. And buried in there are two little white clips, deep down inside of there. You can see them when you have the light. So I'm going to put one screwdriver on one side and then push the other one in with the other side, and then it opens. What you're doing is pushing these two clips in, and then that releases the clip. And this is the motor unit of the Dyson. Annoyingly, the screw post for the battery is broken deep inside of there. Oh, let me show you. Yeah, just inside of there, it's a bit snapped. So probably going to be okay. We shall see. But there's not really a lot I can do for now. Put that up there. So with that off, we don't wash that bit. That bit goes in the pile of stuff. We can move on to the cyclone. Very carefully unclick the shroud off of the machine, and I would have done this just 2 or 3 years ago. So this is all the fluff that they build up. So that goes on there. We can take off this seal here. Then we need to get our T8 out. We can then undo all of the screws that hold the outer part or the centre cone or whatever you want to call it off of both of the machines. Then we can take off these parts and take all the screws out. Oh, one's got caught. Get out. Got to pop them out of the thread if they catch. There we go. That'll go there. It doesn't really matter which goes where. I'm giving them different screw cards, but only so that I can keep them very good. And then, well, this one has been used more for DIY and plaster dust. This one less. This is a darker, grittier dirt. So I do believe it's been fine. But again, that's what they do. This is, you know, even if you use them nicely, I'm afraid for any fine dust, it just stays in the machine. Pop these out. I shall, in fact, if we take off the shell, I'm going to wash the shells, but the filters will get washed separately, and I already have clean filters for V6s ready, so we shall finagle the, oh yeah, look, there we go, it's already started filling up with fluff. And then when you wash that, as Dyson say, by just wetting the outside of this and letting the water run through it, that's the bit that turns into cement, and that's the bit that really does ruin your day. Right, yeah, not as much dust now, but inside of these parts here are 4 Torx screws, and then there's 2 at the back. That fits the entire cyclone. This is the same on a V8 and a V7 as well at this part. They all come apart in exactly the same way, just the housing's a little bit different. So yeah, back to the shorter, all the rest are pretty much identical screws. Then yeah, this bit comes off, then this bit comes out. There's the inner cones, there is one gasket. Here is another gasket, if I can tease it out. Oh, I snapped it. Snapping is not a problem because it goes back in there quite nicely. And then finally, this bit comes out. And that's it. That is how I strip down a Dyson V6 bin. Floor heads are going to be a bit different though. And these heads themselves are very different indeed. We'll start with the V6 style head that's on the V6. 1/2 turn gets this bottom bit off. This can be absolutely packed up with fluff, and yeah, this one is a bit clogged as well, so that will not be helping. Then we shall come to the side and remove the brush roll. Okay, this bit gets packed up with hair, and on a V6 you can pull, prise, remove the end cap, and then you can pull out the brush strips so that you can give them a really good clean. There's 1, 2, 3 and 4, all of the dust holding them together. So there is that. We have moved on to a T10 Torx now, and you want to have a screw card really. I don't, because I know these heads well enough, but under here, yes, will be packed with fluff, and this doesn't really seem to affect anything at all. But yeah, that is your pivoting head that just gets absolutely full, cram packed in. If it's damp, it's even worse because it rusts. But yeah, you can pick it all out. You can get to everywhere you need, and it will have a good wash anyway. That gets the worst of it out. Yeah, there we go, and that will move a lot better. It also packs itself into here. Right, the edge corners, 1, 2, 3 short ones. There is one under here, and then this one is a longer one. That all comes out. We can flip it around, and in theory, if I've done this correctly, a little bit careful just in case, you know, I haven't, this top bit will pop out. There we go. Oh, come on. There we are. That cover comes off of there. You can then pull the clear cover off. Then I take out the motor unit completely, pull the 2 wires out, because it doesn't really matter which way they go. And yeah, welcome to what can kill a Dyson, any Dyson really, because the corded ones get like that. The cordless ones are even more susceptible. This bearing's probably not going to be too bad because I would have done it before. But if we go back to our T8, and I undo that centre screw, which looks completely different, so you'll be all right, and we carefully pry that out. Yeah, you can see all of the fluff that started to pack behind there. And before I finish, I'm going to pop the cap off of this bearing and put some nice new grease in it so that it can continue to spin for a long time. But otherwise, we have one more screw to remove, which lets that white bit pop off. Then you have to sort of pull the cables through from the other side. So we're going to just grab them with a screwdriver, pull them through. It's already coming apart, look, you can see. And then with that out, you can finagle all of this bit through. I don't wash that bit, but we're going to wash all of this. And that is the V6 head stripped. The other head is quite different. So this is, again, your V6 late, V7, V8 and V10. You take your back bit off. Then you take your brush roll out, which again, we are hopefully replacing. So, but I think I might wash this up just in case the other brush roll is no good and I do need to use it. So they're off, they're off. We are back to T8 from our T10. We're going to undo basically every screw underneath. These 2 back ones, the back corners, the front 3. Be careful to not round these if you've never had the head apart before. There we go. And then deep inside of here is another screw right in there. And that comes out as well. And then take all of these before we lose them. There we go. Although we have spares, the back trim will need a little bit of persuasion, but should come off. Oh no, the screw didn't undo. Come on. Oh no, don't break. This back trim isn't, it's holding on. Why are you holding on to the screw? I think, oh, it's all rusty and horrible. Right, so yeah, this little screw is being a pain. It's almost like somebody's been here before, but I think this one's going to fit it. So let me get that cracked off. There it is. It's gone quite rusty, but it's a short little screw. And that holds this back on. Now, if your V7, that affects them more, has a dead head, odds are this wire here has split. So you would now solder it together, or as I like to do, I replace the wire back there and sort of bring it around to a less stressful point, but it's not a great repair either way. But if you remove the wires, we can separate the 2 halves, and then the motor clicks into the frame. And this bit is ready to be washed. We can then, again, you've got to be a bit careful, but that's horrible. Unclick that bit from there, and yeah, this has definitely been used for damp, gunky, horrible stuff. The other pinch point on any of these heads, right up to the current generation, is all the fluff that builds up at the end of the motor. We want to get all of that out nicely and give that all a good clean out before it completely destroys our head. And then, of course, the rubber seal is going to part fight, so we'll leave that. But yeah, all this damp and horrible mess. And this is how you do a late V6, V7, V8, V10 head. How lovely. We've only really got a little bit more to go before I've just stripped all this on camera. So how I strip these little heads, although this one is actually fine, so we're going to leave this. This is the one that came from the charity shop. Just like these heads normally are, I don't think it's actually seen any use. This one did come from the machine, so though it's also spotless. Take out the brush roll. This is the same for this style of head and the later style little mini floor head. Then we take out, oh, that's the wrong size bits. We'll take out these two screws here that they're so not tight I can just do it with the bit itself. That then releases this, and here is your motor and then the drive coil. Now you got to be a bit careful here, because if you go too far you will rip out the wires from the back of the motor. Though this generation is not too bad because there's the back of the motor, but on the later ones it's a fiddly sod to do that. All I'm doing is just cracking off the two locating tabs either side, and then I can just push this out just enough. Oh, if I do that again, there we go, just enough to push everything flush, but without ripping the wires out of the back of the motor. Then once that's done, you've got to gingerly, come on, sort of open that bit there enough to let this bit come past without snapping it ideally, although if you do, it's not the end of the world. There we go, like that. And then I don't wash that bit. I mean, that bit's spotless anyway. I'm just going to write that down, but normally this bit's the gunky, horrible bit. This bit's all scratched. I say this head's seen no use at all. So that's cool. And I mean, I'll wash that with a brush roll as well. And then the only things that we have left to even think about are these. And I guess I'm only one button push away from pulling this off, and it is quite dirty. Then there's these two docks, and if you pull at the hinge, the top bits come off, like so. And that's it. We have fully stripped these two Dyson V6s down. I don't wash the ones, they will just get wiped down and left whole. Fantastic. What I'm going to do now then is get all of this washed up, cleaned up, sorted, and then go into the shed and try and find a load of V6 parts to see just how silly we could go with these machines, slash I can get rid of a load of stuff from the shed, which would be fantastic. See how I've got on now. And then before long we have ourselves two Dyson cordless vacuums all ready to go back together and hopefully be worth a sale. On the left, our V6 Total Clean, new battery and wash filter awaiting it, and copy paste on the other side with our lowly Dyson V6. I'm now going to spend my evening watching the TV and reassembling these in the reverse order to which we took them apart. Then we can have a look at how they turned out. Once we have nailed them back together, we end up with a pile of worthless Dyson, but a clean one, and one that now owes me some money, because these came up very nicely indeed. And there is a difference between these. The V6 Total Clean is a later revision of the normal V6, and there is a difference in the connector, and this head doesn't run in this Dyson. I'm fairly sure I remember. Let's just triple check. Oh, it did run in this Dyson. Maybe because the way around. Either way, there is a mild difference. What I also have is a brand new genuine bin specifically for this model, and it will look really nice, because although that bin cleaned up fantastically well, nothing will beat a brand new bin. I mean, God, look at the difference in the two. That is very, very nice. But I just don't think this is the machine that I want to use this on. As nice as it is, and as much as it would make it look good, I aim to just chuck this machine on Facebook Marketplace. I think I'll save this for another day, or if you're watching this and you really, really want a V6 total clean bin, let me know. But I don't know, really, it does seem a bit stupid me even saying this, but there's not many brand new bins for a V6, and that still looks perfectly clean because it is. For a Facebook Marketplace sale, we have nice washed, oh my goodness, come out, filters, there we go, in there, and then I'm £40 in already on 2 rubbish replacement but 9 amp hour batteries. So these do both work, and they work on that, and will hopefully last a fair while. So that's pretty cool. V6 came up pretty well indeed. The head just got washed and cleaned, as you saw. We took it apart, and then I think this is the dock that I'm going to put with this one. Just move this out of the way. With a turbo head, and from the shed, if you remember the video where we looked at the outside LED floodlight, which is still going well, a week later, I found some bits. I thought I had more bits, but we have ourselves a crevice tool. Figured out that if I put this sideways, although it doesn't click in, it does hold itself on. And then I found an extension hose. Yeah, I've got a couple of these that I've had lying around. So you can have the world's most hateful cylinder vacuum. You have to keep your finger on the trigger. You've only got about 10 minutes and you can go clean. But this is number 1 done. The only reason I'm not going to fling it straight on Facebook tonight is because I don't have a charger for it. That is in the post. So if you can imagine this all finished off with a charger on Facebook Marketplace, lovely. Although if you still want a fairly competent cordless vacuum, these are very much free now with some tools. They're all going to need a new battery, so just buy as cheap as you can and be prepared to spend at least 20 quid, and you could have yourself a nice machine. But I mean, that's the same. Gonna put the nicer tool with this one. We have a turbo, we have the working charger because one of these did come with a broken one, and then we have its head. And what I also found when I was roofing around in the shed was this. I must have bought this incorrectly for something else, because this has done what they all do and ruined its black brush, which, I mean, I'm probably going to keep that brush on because it's still better than nothing. But this is a pattern replacement, and as you can see, all the bristles are really fluffy and rubbish and gnarly. But if it fits, it sits, and it certainly looks a heck of a lot better, even though those brushes aren't really doing anything because they're not stiff carbon fibre. Even those didn't do a lot. But there you go. Marvellous. That is now going to look much nicer. Now I'm going to keep this purely because it's better than a destroyed brush roll. Could come in handy one day. But I also found in Lay's shed was a second extension hose. Yeah, I had 2 of these flipping things. So one each of those can go in there. And then in my cupboard upstairs, I had a spare fluffy, which can go with this machine. So all of a sudden, this is why I'm sort of splitting these. I might ask a little bit more for this machine. I have a V6 with pretty much everything. In fact, actually, this one's got its manual. I do keep forgetting that. But in terms of, you know, and package, this one is quite nice. You know, this is why hoarding tools can sometimes be a good thing, as long as you do actually get rid of them at some point. It might take a few years, but hey, I'm getting rid of stuff. So yeah, this one is done and ready to go. This one just needs a charger to arrive, and then it can go. And I'm hoping that between the 2 of them, they're going to make 2 pretty good vacuums. They've got new batteries, so that's going to last at least a couple of years. Problem is, after 6 months, these will get put on max. At the minute they clamp themselves down reasonably nicely to obviously our educated guys with these. We know what clamp down means in terms of a Dyson V6. But, you know, they'll go on max, the battery will die, blah, blah, blah. But until then, that'll be pretty good, I reckon. As good as brand new with a V6 as you will get. I mean, almost tempted to put that bin onto this one, but I just don't think it'll improve the value as much as, you know, just having this pass on its own for somebody, probably a collector who does want a V6 to keep and look mint. That's where that needs to go. Not one that is just going to be filled up within 5 minutes and scratched to death. But hey, that's just my uneducated opinion. What do you think about our free V6 haul? I'm now 40 quid into it, 20 quid each for the batteries. I think that's pretty reasonable. I don't think you'll get away with that nowadays on a Dyson V6, not putting a brand new battery on it. But tell me down below, if you're somebody who does Dyson V6s a lot, are they still worthwhile selling in 2026? Or has that shit passed? Let me know down below. And until the next free disastrous Dyson haul, but not these, we'll see you soon. Bye bye.